Hello and welcome to Survivor Pool AI, Artificial Intelligence, where we have used three artificial intelligence models, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Groc, to create three artificial intelligence agents. And we're using those agents to select teams each week to enter into an NFL Survivor pool. Actually, we're entering into two pools, one large pool with a single elimination and one small pool with a double elimination. My name is Kip Skavinsky, and I'm being assisted on this by Eric Tedisco, who is helping me with some technical aspects of YouTube and and social media. First of all, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, as that will help us survive in the YouTube world, so to speak. This is week 3 of the NFL season, and there's a lot to digest. I would ask you to, if you get a chance, to view episode 1, where we've laid out the foundation of what we're doing, and we also ran through how we tried to enable ChatGPT as an example to select teams for the pool. And in episode 2 and 3, we also did the same thing for Gemini and Groc. So first of all, what's the value of to the viewer of having these AI agents select or help you to select your pick for an NFL pool? Well, the agents, obviously, like they do with other things related to artificial intelligence, enable you to sort through and evaluate a whole lot of information that normally you wouldn't be able to evaluate. Things like odds, Las Vegas odds, the power rankings, certainly everybody has access to them. But it also it looks at injury reports, waiver wire actions, maybe disgruntled players, home and away versus and also things like travel across country. But I think one of the big values here is that it has the ability to evaluate future schedule considerations. For example, I had ChatGPT run some analysis for teams that are not the top ranked teams in terms of power rankings, but somewhat like mid-level teams that might have easier games down the road. And since there's 32 teams, you might say there's 10 or 11 or so mid-level teams. And throughout a long, 18-week season, it would be very difficult for an individual to sort through all of this, particularly for the casual pool player who might be in an office pool or something and doesn't have all day to evaluate their selections for these pools. And a couple of examples that the ChatGPT came up with as far as something like that goes. I'll just give you a sample. The Atlanta Falcons power rankings roughly 20. And in ChatGPT says that games that you might want to hold them for or consider using them as a mid-level team. In week 5, they're playing the Panthers, and in week 12, the Titans. And the Tennessee Titans currently are a power ranking of 29, and the Panthers are 32. Also, the Colts, week 8, they're playing the Patriots. And in week 14, the Titans. So again, there's some opportunity to use teams that are mid-level teams in future games. And it's very hard for an individual to sort through all this. So the value of having these artificial intelligence agents help with your selection, I think is quite a might give you quite an advantage in your pool if you choose to go this route. Moving on, we're as I mentioned, we're in two pools, one with about 140 participants that allow you one wrong pick, or one pick that the team loses, and then your second time you pick a team that loses, you're out of the pool. We also, just to see, we entered into one of these large national pools that have thousands of participants, and in that pool, one wrong pick, one pick that your team loses, and you're out. So how are we doing in after week 2? Well, so far so good. ChatGPT, 2 winners. They picked the Denver in week 1 and the Ravens in week 2. Gemini picked Jacksonville in week 1 and the Cowboys in week 2. And Groc picked Green Bay in week 1 and the Bills in week 2. These agents made the same selections for both the large and small pools in weeks 1 and 2, and of course with the pools that have a 1 or 2 loss. Now I want to issue a little caveat here as I've gone through these now 3 weeks of selections and the logic and what the pools or what the agents are saying. I've noticed some discrepancies or some things that aren't always right, and we're always warned about using artificial intelligence, that you need to check your work. And what I'm saying is, for example, is that I understand is if you're doing research, sometimes these models will cite references to articles or books or whatever that are made up. And so you can't 100% rely on things. So the effort here is to use these 3 agents to compete with each other and see which one seems to do the best in this survivor pool effort, which seems to me is a pretty complex undertaking. But as I say, I've noticed some discrepancies here. For example, in ChatGPT early on mentioned the game between the Commanders and the Jets. Well, the Commanders were playing the Giants, both New York teams, but it didn't quite pick that up. Also, Groc recently referred to, again, the Jets with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and of course he's not the quarterback of the Jets, he's the quarterback of the Steelers. I've also had to remind, and I think it was Groc, of their past selection so as not to make it again a selection. All of these things are correctable because I think when you remind these agents of the mistake, they'll go back and take it into consideration and won't make it again. Not to say as they won't make a different type of error. So let's move forward here. Week 3 selections. GPT, she selected the Bills, and she selected the Bills for both pools. The logic, and I'll go through some of this. Week 3 is the reasoning. I'm gonna read it off. The Bills are a massive 12.5-point favorite. Buffalo's 2-0, and the Dolphins are having problems on offense. They're struggling early. They're 0-2. Quarterback situation is shaky, and the pool dynamics with 140 players and 2 strikes, early survival is key. Now this will differ a little bit from what I think one of the I think Gemini is going to say. But so early survival was key as the field thins. And most competitors are chasing heavy favorites, but the Bills' near lock status avoids an early strike while saving slightly riskier elites, Chiefs for example, for later. And it leverages Buffalo's hot start without overcommitting top teams soon. Then it goes through and says, why not the Packers and the Browns? They think that Green Bay's a strong favorite, but the Browns, Cleveland's home underdog resilience adds some risk to that pool. And the Ravens and the Lions, which Chad picked, of course, in week 2, can't pick the Ravens. But for those of you who might, is tempting, but Detroit's explosive week 2 offense makes this a potential trap. So for a hypothetical large pool, thousands of participants, one loss eliminates you. They're still picking the Bills for that. And I think that covers that. Strategy notes. They're prioritizing a blowout favorite like Buffalo to build a cushion. The 2-strike buffer in the 140 participant pool allows mid-tier picks later, week 6 to 10, for example, for upsets. And they're saving teams like the Chiefs for a rebound later, and the Ravens, which they already picked, so that doesn't make sense there for later. So that's their pick. Buffalo for both pools in week 3. Moving on to Gemini. Gemini is picking, they went through 3 scenarios. The Buffalo Bills again, Green Bay Packers versus the Browns, and Tampa Bay versus the Jets. And they decided to pick the Tampa Bay for their selection for week 3, particularly because in the 1-loss allowance pool, it gives you a great deal of flexibility, and using a stronger pick like the Bills, which of course ChatGPT picked, she said seems like a waste of a bullet, quote unquote. So the strategy is that they think this is a fantastic value pick, high win probability, and save some of the juggernaut teams for later. For a very large pool, however, their pick is Green Bay because the Packers are a strong favorite at home against the Browns, despite what ChatGPT said about the Browns. So they're going to pick them. The strategy is that the Bills are likely to be the most popular pick of the week due to their large spread. And if they win, great, you survive, but so do a large number of other people, and the pool size barely shrinks. So by picking the Packers, you're choosing a team with a high win probability while also strategically differentiating yourself from the most popular picks. If the Bills were to lose, you'd be positioned to take a huge lead the rest of the pool. So it's almost like take that, ChatGPT. Now, Groc also is taking, I guess is the word, also is taking the Bills. Their logic is very similar to ChatGPT's, which makes me think that they're pulling a lot of this information the same source, which may or may not surprise us, given the models are mining, as you might say, all the information that's out there. They're mining the same thing. So generally, if you look overall at the picks here of the last 2 and then now 3 weeks, ChatGPT picked Denver week 1, Ravens 2, and Bills 3, and very strong teams. Gemini picked Jacksonville week 1, Cowboys in week 2, and now they're splitting their pick. Buccaneers for the smaller pool and Green Bay for the larger pool. And then Groc picked the Eagles in week 1, Green Bay in week 2, and the Bills in week 3. So they're picking stronger. So generally, it seems that these logic is that they're trying to pick pretty strong teams early on in order to survive into the weeks 3, 4, and 5, versus a strategy of trying to save a lot of these picks or selections or teams for later in the pool and not get to be cornered, although they are, in terms of their analysis, mentioning that they are also trying to do that to some extent. The interesting thing to me is, and I kind of referred to it a little bit early on, is that these models, and I'll just use ChatGPT as an example because that's the one that I asked to do this. I asked them to to put a list of the, and it pretty much was some of the stronger teams, what was the best weeks to use these. So they, or she, come up with a list of, for example, week 3 when the Bills, the best weeks to use them as a selection against weaker teams. Or maybe the 49ers, when to pick them. For example, week 17 they're playing the Seahawks, or week 9 they're playing the Cardinals, and felt that those might be good weeks that the 49ers to pick them or to save them for those weeks. Now, of course, this list is going to change as we move into the season, because the relative power or ability of these teams to win and lose is going to change. So it's a list it's interesting, and you sort of use it to guide yourself from it, but probably will change. Also asked for a list of teams to avoid, and they came up with 5 or 6 teams. And then also, again, asked, and I mentioned this before, to what might be those mid-level teams, ranked power rankings 11 to 20, 21 or so, 22, that have some weaker, that'll be facing weaker teams down the road, and might be good that you could feel safe in selecting a strong team now to stay in the pool, noting that there will be games where some of the weaker teams that are left, you can still select them because they'll be playing teams that are even have worse records or more, even more weak teams. So anyway, there you have it. Good luck in making your picks for week 3, and hopefully we will see you again next week. And again, please hit the like button and the subscribe button, because that'll really help us in continuing this. Thank you.